The Spain told the court that investigations have revealed that Mr. Boateng J, during his time in office as the PPA boss, participated in tendering processes such as the Ministry of Inner City and Zongo Development for a company he owned known as Talent Discovery Limited. According to Mr. Jabeng, the former PPA boss did so improperly and unlawfully without disclosing that he was the majority shareholder of the said company. Mr. Jenim Boateng was subsequently suspended from office by President Akufo-Addo on August 22, 2019, following a broadcast of allegations made against him in a publication by freelance journalist Manasseh Azuri Awuni titled Contracts for Sale. The allegations of conflict of interest was referred to the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice (SHRAJ) and those relating to potential acts of corruption to the Office of the Special Prosecutor for their action. It was based on recommendations from SHRAJ that Mr. Jenim Boateng J was sacked from office on October 31, 2019. Per the SHRAJ report, the former PPA boss's account since assuming office in 2017 stood at 14.8 million Ghana cedis from his $4 and euro account held at two banks. According to SHRAJ, Mr. J could not satisfactorily explain the source of the large volumes of wealth that passed through his bank accounts between March 2017 and August 2019. After investigations, SHRAJ found him guilty of conflict of interest in the performance of his duties after sidestepping procurement procedures for personal gains. Lawyers for both Mr. Jenim Boateng J and his brother-in-law, Mr. Francis Ahin, argued for bail for their clients. Justice Mary Mamekwa Nsenche, in her ruling, instructed the Office of the Special Prosecutor to file their disclosures in 4 weeks and serve the accused persons with all documents they intend to rely on and what will not be needed during the trial. She also ordered the Special Prosecutor to file witness statements of all witnesses and serve same on the accused persons. To the accused persons, the court ordered that they file their addresses and list of witnesses in case the court finds that the prosecution has made a prima facie case against them. They are also to file particulars of alibi if they intend to put forward same. The second accused person, Mr. Ahin, whose wife has delivered a baby in the UK, was asked to deposit his national identification cards with the court's registry and was cautioned not to do anything that will risk the courts rescinding his bail. The case has been adjourned to June 28, 2022.
The Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu Dampare, says a post-mortem will be conducted on the body of Albert Donko to determine the actual cause of his death. Albert Donko died in police custody after he was picked up on the 25th of April. The IGP assured the family that any person found culpable of Albert's death will be brought to book. He appealed to the bereaved family to minimize their engagement with the media to facilitate investigation. The IGP is currently in Nkranza on a fact-finding mission on the death of Albert Donko and Victor Kwadwo Owusu, who also died on Tuesday, 17th May 2022, during clashes between the police and the youth in Nkranza. Correspondent Samuel Ayama joins us on phone to update us on the IGP's visit. Hello, Samuel. Good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon, Winifred.
Right. This is a developing story, and I know there will be a perceived calmness in the area. How will you describe the atmosphere at the meeting with the IGP and the bereaved families?
Yeah, the atmosphere in Nkranza is very, very encouraging since the incident happened on the 25th of April 2022, and the clashes which also happened on the 17th of May 2022 that led to the death of Victor Owusu too. And the meeting, I must say, even though it was a closed-door meeting with both families, we were from where we were asked to go and then stand and observe the whole thing because we wanted to have the engagement with the family alone. It was very successful because we could hear the family clapping, and they were like happy about the message that the IGP was delivering or trying to tell them about the position of his outfit. The whole township has been very, very calm. Today you could see the visit of the IGP. Everybody in the township is coming out to catch a glimpse of him, chanting and singing his praises, thanking him, and like there seems to be very much confidence in the residents in trying to find a lasting solution to the issue we have at hand.
So, Samuel, if I understand, you were not privy to what was discussed at the meeting, but were you briefed by the police when they finished discussions?
For now, they are not done with the meeting.
It's still ongoing.
Yes, it's still ongoing. Their first point of call was the municipal police command. From there, they moved to Albert Donkor's family, and then from there, they went to Victor Owusu's place and the St. Teresa Hospital here in Canada, where 4 of the victims are still on admission. And then from there, they have just finished meeting with the Jungle Chief of Canada here, and then they are now heading to the Omahene Palace to have engagement with him to the thing we are getting is about the postmortem on Abed's body that the IGP assured the family that it will be conducted.
Right.
And again, too, they will make sure that the perpetrators are brought to book, and asking the 2 families to limit the engagement with the media, because they said if they continue to be talking and then giving different stories about what actually caused the death of Albert and Victor Owusu, it will not help them in getting the facts or getting the right information to help them at least get all the perpetrators to book.
Right. Samuel, the youth in the area have petitioned the IGP to return some of the policemen back to Nkoranza. How true is that?
Yes, that is one thing that we have information about now, that the youth are asking the IGP to make sure that some police officers are sent back here. But the IGP engagement, some of the people who were engaged at the meeting came out and told us that yes, the IGP, for now, they are aware that they have some information about the petition, but the IGP is saying that because the investigations are still ongoing, until they are done, he cannot come out now and tell the youth or residents in Nkoranza or the authorities anything, because they will make sure that they come out with all the findings to the satisfaction of both sides, because they are not ready. His house is not ready to share any information. If the police are called, they will bring everything to the public domain for all of us to see or hear about what actually caused the death and what they want to do to that effect. But the police officers who were sent, the earlier information we had was that the police officers stationed here, they were only asked to leave for 2 weeks. Well, after 2 weeks, they decide what to do. But I'm not sure after 2 weeks yet. It's just last Tuesday was, yesterday was exactly 1 week. So I'm sure after the 2 weeks, then we will also find out what find out the next line of action. Hello.
There are strong women whose stories teach us perseverance.
We do apologize for that abrupt break. You are watching News Are Live on GBC News and GTV. There is growing anxiety among pickup owners and drivers in Tamale following a series of carjackings in the metropolis recently. The latest incident occurred at Banyami, a suburb of Tamale, where a Toyota Hilux pickup was snatched from a farm manager last night. The victim said the gunmen accosted him at gunpoint at about 9 p.m. and asked him to surrender his car, to which he obliged. The development has created anxiety among some residents who want to see more action from authorities. Correspondent Mutala Issa joins us on the line with some more details. Good afternoon, Mutala.
Good afternoon, Winifred.
This is a growing concern. What more can you tell us on this issue?
So let's start with Banyamini. This is not the first time that we are experiencing a carjacking. The former chairman of the NDC Northern Region, Chief Sokwa Zoka's Land Cruiser was taken from him in front of his house just around that period, 9-10 p.m. At gunpoint. They took the car away till date. Nobody has been able to trace that. That was some 2 months ago. Only 2 weeks ago, at an area called King David Junction, which is Cambly, it is an adjacent community to Banyamini. The Ghana Highway Authority lost their pickup. In the evening again, to some gunmen. Then last night we had this. Between January and March, we've had over 6 carjackings within the Tamale metropolis, and it is becoming quite alarming for residents here. Now, what we are learning from the security services is that they are suspecting a syndicate operating between Ghana, Togo, and Burkina Faso. So when they steal these vehicles from Ghana, they drive towards Togo or Burkina, depending on where they think that they could easily elude security personnel. So once they get to the border, if it is on the Burkina side, they meet the Burkinabe counterpart who picks the cars and then into Burkina Faso. Those who head towards Togo, it is the same thing that happens on these borders. I must indicate that we have quite a number of unmanned borders along our border, Ghana, Togo, Burkina Faso, unapproved routes, and they are able to pass through these places to go. Now, what another source told me within the security, it's not ready to speak on camera, is that they suspect that these pickups are being sent to Niger and Mali and even Burkina Faso. These are out there fighting with some of these governments, and that is why consistently they are picking Toyota Hilux pickups, which most of these extremist groups prefer using.
Mutala, allow me to interrupt you here. As you narrate these incidences, it looks to me like it's a trend. Has the police been able to pick up what is happening? Because you tell me this security person doesn't want to speak, but as you narrate it, per what he is telling you, it looks like they've been able to trace how it is happening. Has there been any arrest so far?
They have not arrested anyone. I quite remember a couple of weeks back, a couple of months back, some people were arrested around Bibe, even in military uniform. The gentleman was sentenced, and so I want to believe that he is behind bars now. But after this, we've had more than 4 other hijackings. 2 weeks ago, the Services Metro Security Council went into the Tamale forest and arrested some people, screened them. We are not sure of what happened after this screening. So this is the situation we have in the Tamale metropolis.
Wow, this is indeed alarming, but how is it impacting the socio-economic situation in the area? People are afraid.
Even I ride a motorbike in the evening, but it's a brand new motorbike. And it is not only pickups that are being hijacked, they are also stealing motorbikes. And so whenever you are anywhere within the metropolis and it is sunset, you are in a hurry to move home. So you don't have to pass through some dark locations and then being trailed and your motorbike taken away from you. I must indicate too that the metropolis has become quite dark in recent times. Street lights not working. They've installed some security cameras all over the place, but I am not too sure if they are working at all, what they can take during this dark period.
But has the police instituted any visibility team for the night for people who, go through the activities?
There are a few checkpoints within the metropolis. For example, if you are heading towards Gurgu, I know there's a checkpoint there. There are also a few patrol teams within the metropolis. But the gentleman whose car was hijacked last night told me that it is way too small, insignificant, the number of personnel on the street. That in Banyamni, for instance, they've experienced some 2 jackings before he suffered his fate last night. Okay. And he was hoping that the security services would put more men around that area. But if you drive through the night around that area, you hardly see anyone.
Right, Mutala, thank you so much for this update. We'll come to you when you have more to report to us. The police does something about it for safety of the citizens. A team of military personnel under Operation Halt 2 has arrested 26 illegal miners, including 4 Togolese, operating along River Tunnel and other areas at Patasi near Wassa Dunkwa in the central region. They are arrested during a working visit to illegal mining areas by a Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Mr. George Mweku Duka.
Western and Central regions has heightened concerns over the state of water bodies in the area. For some time now, a team of military personnel from Operation Halt 2 has been deployed to Galamsey-prone areas to control the menace. During a working tour of the Galamsey areas, a Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Mr. George Mweku Duka, and the Commanding Officer of the Southern Command of the Ghana Armed Forces, Brigadier General Michael Eyisi Amwa, surprised at the presence of the illegal miners on site. Chamfan machines, generators and other equipment being used by the Galamseyers and their camps were set ablaze to deter them from coming back to the site. Aerial view of the site showed total destruction of the forest cover. Debris from the mined lands are also being washed into the already heavily silted Tano River. Mr. Mweku Duka was disappointed at the extent of destruction caused by the Galamsey activities. He warned that all persons who were still adamant to stop the illegality would be made to face the full rigors of the law.
Send my penifua ubi utisukra fudin. Now do you drove bunshu? Now ever sansu na nom near woo because of who you're being dinty. You have sabre a year. Who you are blame me a buying? What blame me a buying? Say a buying. How? A buying Magana and Koso. Nasikan ke betumi de aya kwan no e se de ko titi nsuo no yeyi sa chemicals ni nyina free sa nsuo no mu ansa wo kra wonya bia no bisa wo sa nsuo se se bi ma sa no ma obetumi ano se bi saka munya no betumi se bia ma mo ano anko betumi ano so se da bi go for some bring.
The officials chanced upon some sand winners at Patasi near Wassa Dunkwa and made them take back the sand to the ground. The minister cautioned against uncontrolled sand winning at the already mined site, as this will worsen the situation.
Today, May 25, the continent celebrates Africa Day, which marks the anniversary of the signing of the OAU, Organization of African Unity Agreement, which evolved into the present-day African Union, AU. Alongside the commemoration of the day is the extraordinary summit of the African Union currently taking place in Malabo.
Saturday, May 25, 1963, leaders of 30 of the 32 independent African states signed the founding charter of the organization in Addis Ababa. Since then, the commemoration of the historic day by Africans and Africans in the diaspora has served as an opportunity for each country to organize events in order to promote the rapprochement between African peoples. African Union Day has now become a deeply rooted tradition in all African countries, and it represents the symbol of the struggle of the entire African continent for liberation, development, and economic progress. This year's celebration is centered on nutrition, with the African Union theme for the year 2022, strengthening resilience in nutrition and food security on the African continent. The year 2022 signifies the 20th anniversary of the African Union. On this occasion, the African Union, which celebrates its 20th anniversary this year, is holding an extraordinary summit in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, between Wednesday and Saturday. But as leaders meet in Malabo, the Office of the African Union Youth Envoy says it wants to encourage African youth in the continent and in the diaspora to support and promote positive social change, intergenerational dialogue, and concrete action for Africa's development.
Professor Bafwa Jimendria, former UN Senior Special Advisor, joins us on Zoom. The year 2022 signifies the 20th anniversary of the African Union. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
We have been told to keep telling the African story. What is the African story, and is it worth telling?
Of course, African story is worth telling. We have to tell our own story because over the centuries, that African story has been told to the world by non-Africans, especially the Western world. And I think there have been serious discussions of what Africa stands for. Now, in the founding of the OAU first in 1963, which metamorphosed into the AU in 2002, is an indication of what Africa become in this global village that we live. And since then, the African countries, 53 of them, have been trying very hard to tell the African story, to try to write a new narrative about Africa, its problems, challenges, and how it develops. That has been the problem we are facing. And I think by and large, the AU seems to be working hard towards that. But of course, there are so many challenges that they are yet to overcome for the African story to be told in its entirety.
Right. The challenges you speak of, have we done well enough? Because, for instance, COVID-19 exposed our vulnerability when it comes to vaccines, when it comes to food safety and all. Have we done enough for ourselves as a continent?
Certainly, one cannot be proud of the activities, the achievements of the AU. The most serious problem confronting that is making it difficult for the organization to achieve its goals. Certainly, is funding. A problem that really undermined the OAU, and we were hoping that with the AU, with the new enthusiasm of African countries, the AU will do better. But still, funding the organization has been a major challenge. As we speak, it is on record that of the budget that the organization needs, about 60-65% is provided by foreign sources, particularly the EU, the European Union. And that is not helpful. In other words, we still depend on the Western world for our sustenance. So if you talk about doing well in the area of food security and nutrition, it continues to be a challenge because the resources are not there. But having said that, it's also important to say that at least in some areas, the AU seems to be doing everything. The recent formation of the Continental Free Trade Agreement that is now located here in Accra is an indication of perhaps the new vision, the new drift that the AU seems to be embarking upon. So I think we need to intensify this approach to ensure that trade among African countries is accelerated. For that to be one way to improve the economies of the member states, for them to be able to pay their subscriptions to sustain the organization. Because as you know, the beautiful structure of the headquarters of the AU in Addis Ababa was even funded by an external donor, in this case the Chinese. So that doesn't speak well of us. I think by now the African countries should realize that if we are not independent of these things, then our bondage to the colonial or neo-colonial institutions will still be strong. So we need to really finally improve our resources and also improve the coordination of efforts among African countries to achieve common goals.
And so when it comes to instituting measures against countries that default on the tenets of the AU, do you think we've been able to instill discipline for member countries?
Not really. I don't think they are doing well there. Some countries truly are very impoverished to pay their fees of subscription. That is not. But even those that have the money to pay, I guess the internal challenges of these countries still prevent them from paying up, their contributions. So payment of the dues, I think, has been a major problem. But the point is that the organization will seek to cut its costs according to its size. If you know that you need 500,000 a year to open, and your internal mobilization contribute just about say $300 million, then you prioritize your needs so that you can really fund what you have money for. But to really continue to rely on foreign sources, the EU in particular, to sustain yourself doesn't speak well of the organization. So the problem has been that Africa's wealth is still not at par for member states to be able to subscribe fully to the organization. And that, for me, the weakest problem in the organization.
But Prof, can there ever be an Africa beyond aid?
Sure, the dream of our president is an excellent dream. I fully subscribe to that. Because if we don't have that vision, then it means that we are continuously going to be appendages to the global economic and political system. So it's important that we have that dream. The having the dream is one thing, and working towards achieving the dream is another thing. And I think that's where the challenge is. What specific strategy, development strategy, should African countries embark on? Through the to ensure that truly continent we are there, because that will be the ultimate. Otherwise, I think we are going to be appendages to the global system. So I like the dream, but I think it's up to us now find the ways and means, the strategies that will help us develop our resources to rely on ourselves without continuing to rely on external forces.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. We are grateful. And that was Professor Bafwa Jimendria, former UN Senior Special Advisor, joining us via Zoom. An assurance from the government through the Roads Minister, Mr. Kwesi Amoako-Attah, to Ghanaians is that resources will be made available to reconstruct roads affected by the flood. He was on a tour of part of Accra affected by the early morning rains for first.
Then Pampron Road is filled with filth in the chamber beneath the road. The minister was impressed with work done so far. He urged the team to speed up with the construction since the Ghana Meteorological Agency has warned of some more rains and for long periods until June. He said work must not be disrupted from traders around the project site because it is to address perennial flooding and ease congestion.
Saturday downpour caused major one or two other areas in Accra have equally been affected. So we are picking the intelligence, and where the road is affected, I am going around with my team, and this is government quick response to deal with all such emergency situation.
Mr. Mwakwata urged residents to maintain proper solid waste disposal and desist from building on waterways.
We must be disciplined a bit. The drains are all blocked with all kinds of things. We throw into the drains anything at all from our homes. So we want to appeal to everybody. We should not do this to ourselves.
The project's resident engineer, Mr. Owusu Sechere Entry, said the affected area is part of the project site. He said for now a temporary reconstruction has been done and asphalt will be laid by the end of the week if there are no rains.
We realized after the heavy rains, the road became impassable, so we needed to move quickly. So we had to mobilize equipment quickly to come and do the repair work. There were two major spots, one at the Prampron traffic light and one very close by the bridge. We were able to, within 2 hours, do the one close to the bridge. It's the Prampron one that took a lot of time. The asphalt was completely ripped off, and then the base material, that was also completely ripped off. So we had to build the new base completely, which we've done. We did natural material, and then we used crushed rock to finish it up.
At exactly 4 p.m., the road was opened to ease the congestion, which lasted almost a day.
The Kaneshi Polyclinic, a health facility in the Okaikwe South constituency, is not shut down as was being reported by some media organizations yesterday. It is attending to patients. It was in the news yesterday that the polyclinic had shut down due to Tuesday morning downpour, which affected the facility and some areas within the Accra metropolis. Our reporter Anecha Boaje visited the facility today and joins me in the studio to tell us more. We understand the place was shut down yesterday, and you are telling us that's not the case. You went there today. Confirm for us, what is the situation at hand?
The facility is not shut down as reported by some media organizations that is being shut down. It's not shut down. We had an opportunity to talk to the administrator of the facility of the hospital, and she said that it was the OPD which was closed for some period, but it resumed back to operations when they tidy up the place. So we heard yesterday that the Kaneshi Polyclinic is shut down.
Right.
And it's not shut down. They are fully working as I'm talking to you now.
Right, that has been established. And apart from the Kaneshi Polyclinic, did you make other rounds to some affected areas that you did tour yesterday? And what's the latest?
We did tour around some of the areas that we went, and work is ongoing, and also our ministers are assuring us that they are going to help solve the problem. So I know that by close of the day, things will be rectified.
Right, thank you, HR. Kaneshi Polyclinic is still working, and so if you need to go there for any medical care, the place is opened. The Electoral Commission has begun inspection of party offices in Accra, led by the EC Chair, Madam Jane Mensah. Officials of the Commission was at the CPP and PPPRT headquarters.
This is the first time the Electoral Commission is visiting party offices to inspect their operations. Per the EC's requirement, every political party should have at least 2/3 of its offices at the regional and district levels. The team led by the EC chair first visited the offices of the Conventions People's Party, CPP. They were received by the party's chairperson, Madam Akosua Frimpoma Sapon Kumankuma, and the General Secretary, Nanaya Jantua, and some party executives. Madam Frimpoma Sapon Kumankuma was grateful for the visit. She, however, raised concerns about issues with rent, which she says is affecting the party's finances. The EC chairperson, Madam Jane Mensah, said the visit is not to witch hunt, but rather to help the party make informed decisions.
It's not ideal to sit in our head office and not go down into the field, but to see what is happening in the political party offices. This is part of our mandate. We ourselves as commissioners have to have a feel and know what is really going on in the offices of the political parties. As you may be aware, Section 15 of the political parties law requires parties to have presence, not only at the national level or the regional level, but in 2/3 of the districts across the country. And so we are trying to basically do these inspections and to assess the presence of political parties all across the country. And that would enable the Electoral Commission to take an informed decision. And many times we have been to the Special Budget Committee of Parliament, and the question asked us is, what is our role? How are we performing our role of oversight of the political parties? And so, for the first time in our history, as I mentioned earlier, commissioners themselves are going to the field. We are going to come up with reports once the field visits are done and to provide the public with information. In addition to that, the Commission intends to apply some sanctions to parties that have not, do not have presence. And we have on our records information of parties who, since their establishment, don't have any offices at all.
The team was also at the headquarters of the Progressive People's Party at Aveno. The place was flooded, and so the team could not inspect the office. The chairman of the party, Nana Ofori-Wusu, said the party is putting up a 3-story structure which will soon be completed. The deputy EC chair, Mr. Samuel Tete, said the routine inspection will continue till the next election. For GBC News, Hagar Owusu, Electoral Commission, Accra.
Party politics will take you to the Eastern region, where work is formally underway to construct a security school gate and the entrance to the Accra School for the Blind and the renovation of its dilapidated kitchen facility. The Ghana National Gas Company is financing the project and says this is to ensure safety and security for all on campus.
Of the Accra School for the Blind since it was built. Over the years, the school has depended on the benevolence of philanthropists and organizations. Yet, it still faces numerous challenges. The Ghana National Gas Company accepted a request to support the school with a decent and modern kitchen and a robust gate. The assistant manager in charge of community relations and corporate social responsibility at JNGC, Mr. Edombole Inria Anyman, said the company is happy to support the school.
Accra School for the Blind is in the heart of our CU because we have one of you in our mix in the company. He always says if any company in Ghana will employ one disability person, I believe the country will go far.
The headmistress of the school, Madam Veronica Derry, said the absence of a secure security gate was exposing the school to all manner of intruders at odd hours.
It is our hope that these 2 projects will be executed successfully by the contractor, so that at the end of the day, we'll gather here again to celebrate.
The board chairman of the school is the chief of Amonokru, Nana Osimkwetia.
We have had contractors come in and delay jobs and all that, and it has frustrated a lot of us in the past. So we are the contractors. We have confidence. We know that the timelines assigned for the completion of this job will be done in good faith and in grace.
The Accra School for the Blind, which is located in the Eastern region, has a student population of over 450 children. For GBC News, Hagar Owusu, Accra.
Coming up shortly is the business segment. Please stay with us.
There are strong women whose stories teach us perseverance, logic, decisiveness and self-confidence. Being strong is not just about physical abilities, but also emotional, intellectual and mental strength. Women's Voice is a platform to hear and share stories to encourage women and girls. Women are the real architects of society. It is they who provide the foundation of power, grace, wisdom, justice, creativity and hope. Join us live every Monday at 4 p.m. GBC News and GTV, Wednesdays live at 4 p.m. on GBC News and repeat on Saturdays at 4 p.m. on GBC News and Sundays at 3 p.m. also on GBC News. Women's Voice. No one can make you inferior without your consent.
Hello, you're still watching This is Business with me, Esther Edu. It is the second day of the 57th African Development Bank annual meetings in Accra. Today, as part of the meetings, the Board of Governors had a seminar on the special joint rights, and currently underway is the launch of the African Economic Outlook. Our reporters are at the venue to tell us what has transpired so far. Away from that, non-traditional exporters are undergoing a 5-day training in export marketing fundamentals by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. At the opening of this year's Expo School in Accra, a Deputy Chief Executive of the authority, Mr. Albert Dirua, said the training is in line to meet the non-traditional export target of $25 billion in the next 10 years. Bring you that story later. Well, the Ghana Enterprise Agency, GEA, and the Mastercard Foundation Young Africa Works Project have presented about 3,000 startup kits to young entrepreneurs who have completed a 6-month apprenticeship to enterprise components. The program is being organized across the country in about 6 regions, and the Adentan, Tema, and Amasaman cohorts have received their startup kits.
Youth unemployment is one of the biggest global challenges. Young people make up 33.3% of Ghana's population, and 12% of them are unemployed. The Young Africa Works Project, an initiative of the Mastercard Foundation, is being implemented by the Ghana Enterprise Agency, GEA, to train and monitor individuals as well as businesses to become entrepreneurs to create jobs and aid the country's economic recovery post-COVID-19. The GEA Mastercard Foundation Young Africa Works Project is under one of GEA's flagship programs, Youth Entrepreneurship and Employment Program, YEEP. YEEP is an upgraded and job-focused version of all the apprenticeship and technical training programs undertaken by GEA. The beneficiaries, who have been trained for 6 months in dressmaking, hairdressing, barbering, leatherworks, auto-electricals, welding and fabrication, among others, have received the necessary tools to start their business. At a handing over ceremony, the Trade and Industry Minister, Mr. Lanchomatin, said the delivery mechanisms employed by GEA for the Young Africa Works project take into account all the facets of youth entrepreneurship, with focus on equipping 39,000 young men and women with dignified jobs, 70% of the number being women.
There are different categories of unemployed. Those who are unskilled and do not have the benefit of any skills training. There are those who have skills, but unfortunately they are unable to use their skills to work. And there are those who have formal training, academic training, not skills training, who also do not have the opportunity of having a job. Whichever way you look at it, for us as government, creating jobs for all these categories of unemployed is a developing imperative for us.
The chief executive of the GEA, Mrs. Kosi Yanki-Aye, said the agency has, in its interventions over the years, observed a positive correlation between the provision of startup packs and establishment of new businesses.
We realize that for many people who go through training of receiving a skill, they're not able to turn it into a business venture or viable businesses. So we came up with a program where we support and assist the youth to turn their skills into businesses or viable ventures.
GEA says such support gives the agency the mandate to promote and develop micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs. The exercise will be replicated in the Bono and Ahafo regions, Eastern and Central regions.
Well, it is the second day of the 57th African Development Bank annual meetings in Accra, and our reporters are at the venue to tell us what has transpired so far. Good afternoon, Maurice.
Right, and so the Afdb meetings here at the Accra International Conference Center enters day 2. The search for policy options to mitigate the effects of what has become known as the 3 Cs, that's COVID, climate and crisis, continues. There is heightened discussions about positioning the Afdb to do what banks do, that is to go out there and raise capital for the continent. There are discussions to merge the balance sheet of the African Development Bank and the African Development Fund, which is a $3 billion fund, to be able to raise more capital for the continent. There are also suggestions to tweak the regulatory framework to allow the African Development Fund to go out there to raise more capital. Pretty shortly, there is going to be the launch of the Afdb Africa Economic Outlook. We do not have the figures yet, but what we know is that in 2021, the Afdb projected that Africa will grow 3.4%. That was after the continent contracted 2.1% as a result of the COVID pandemic. Also, the World Economic Forum is projecting that the economy of Africa will slow to 3.6% from 3.1% we saw in 2021 as a result of the Russian-Ukraine war. And so there is a lot to talk about here at the Accra International Conference Center. Pretty shortly, my colleagues Edward Nyako and Sani Abdurrahman will join me to have a discussion. Let me understand exactly what they've been picking from the ground and what the direction of the discussions have been so far. And so, Edward, good afternoon. So there are a lot of discussions, and for me, what matters is how these discussions becomes a reality. Joining the balance sheet of the African Development Fund and the Afdb balance sheet, so that we have a large, capital base to raise funds on the international market, has become prominent.
Yeah, it's become prominent in the sense that the ADF, as you said, is more or less our wing, concessional wing, molded after the IMF. So if the balance sheet is made stronger, then they can use this one to go onto the capital market and leverage on that and raise more resources, because the AFDB itself has 61 billion now. They're talking about 25 billion on the side of the ADF, the African Development Fund. So when these two things are done, it's going to help the continent to be able to raise more capital and then lend to nations on the continent to do a lot of developmental projects. For instance, if you talk about developmental projects in Ghana, you can talk of the Kotoka International Airport, which was funded by the ADF, African Development Bank, the Pokuasi interchange. And they are doing a lot of fantastic work in the northern part of our country in terms of farms. So this is very important. These are important projects that are coming on strike.
So, Sani, there's also discussions about Africa's debt. As we speak, 71% to GDP. And Africa is pushing for debt forgiveness. That does not, appear to be happening.
Well, from all indication, that is not going to happen, because if you analyze what multilateral institutions are saying, they are not buying into this idea of debt forgiveness. But for me, really, as we await for the figures in the outlook, we look at what's at stake, you understand. You look at the fact that in 2021, we expected in the first half of the year the African economy not to rebound progressively as we saw prior COVID-19. But in the second half of the year, we saw the economy rebounding significantly, forcing projectors to even adjust their forecast in terms of the growth of the African economy. In 2022, the progress has stalled as a result of the war in Ukraine. We are seeing commodity importing nations bearing the brunt of the war in Ukraine. We are seeing food prices going astronomically high. We are seeing fuel prices also same. So for African businesses that are expecting to hear something positive in terms of the projection this afternoon, they will want to know what the African Development Bank is doing in this regard. Already we've heard of the $1.5 billion facility that they have rolled out to address to avert a looming food crisis in the continent. With energy, what are they doing? There is conversation about transitioning to green energy. How will this be implemented without stalling productivity? Because if you want to quickly jump into green energy without utilizing the natural gas that you have, which of course around the world countries have used to develop their economies, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot.
And so the Russia-Ukraine war, having so much effect on the African continent, there is a looming fertilizer shortage of about 2 million metric tons, around $20 billion. That is likely to affect, food production here in Ghana and on the continent. And so, in a short while, the Afdb African Economic Outlook report will be launched. We are not so much optimistic. I mean, we've seen agencies, slashing growth prospect, and so that shouldn't be so different from what we're going to see today. So we'll hand over to you in the studios as we cover the launch of the African Economic Outlook. Over to you, Esther, in the studio.
Colleagues, a job well done, and those were my colleagues at the AICC covering the 57th African Development Bank annual meeting in Accra. And moving on, non-traditional exporters are undergoing a 5-day training in export marketing fundamentals by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority at the opening of this year's export school in Accra. A deputy chief executive of the authority, Mr. Albert Dirua, said the training is in line to meet the non-traditional export target of $25 billion in the next 10 years. The export school by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority is purposed to ensure that entrepreneurs in the export space acquire the rudiments of exports. The focus of the school is on areas such as managerial, technical, as well as understanding the current global trends to give the exporter a competitive edge. A deputy chief executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Mr. Albert Dirua, said the training is to help exporters scale up their production and be at par with competitors on the international front.
The GEPA Export School has been in existence for decades. Going forward, what we even intend doing is to have it a brick and mortar somewhere in Kumasi so that it will be a certificate awarding institution. So to have an export school with brick and mortar, I mean, we will once again be the first. And we need you people to make it happen.
The topics being taught at the 5-day training are export marketing research, products planning and product adaptation, contracts and negotiations, sanitary and photosanitary specification, and export procedures and presentation.